Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey, y'all. It's me, Tamara. Yes, studio audience. Thank you so much for making it do what it do, baby. Yes. So all my new listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. New episodes drop every Thursday. So come on back through one more time for the one time. I usually talk about my life and the ways I'm trying to grow. And for all my day 1, 2, 3, 4, week 57, whenever it is that you came in, for all my returning supporters, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all listening, watching, the feedback, all that. If you're not, you should totally follow me on social media or subscribe to the YouTube channel, you feel me? And the link to all that is in the episode notes. And guys, guess what? If you subscribe to the YouTube version of the episode drops before the audio. So the audio drops every Thursday morning at 4 a.m. Central Standard Time. No, I am not up that early. It is scheduled in advance, trust me. But the YouTube video for the episode drops Wednesday night at 9 p.m. So that comes out earlier. So definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. So y'all, it has been a very interesting week this past week. So last week, I feel like it was just a week of rest. It was really interesting the way like meetings got canceled. And I mean meetings with the kids that I work with, but then also meetings that I had related to my own company and stuff like that. So it was just really interesting because normally I meet with kids on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And last week I ended up actually only meeting with kids on Wednesday. And then my caseload, so a kid was taken off my caseload. And so it was just really interesting because I had a lot more time. And then at the same time, I did some unexpected slight rebranding. And I say slight because when I rebranded at the beginning of the year, changed colors, did all that. So we didn't do that. However, the promo graphics that I create to promote my services that I'm offering, as well as kind of like their counterparts, because it's a slightly different graphic that goes on the website. I updated those, and then it went on this whole little bunny trail where I actually started paying attention to the way the font looks on the computer versus my phone. And it's not like I've never looked at my website on my phone. So I don't know why this didn't really stick out to me like it did last week. But what I noticed is that the font doesn't shrink down on the phone when you look at it. Now I have it large on purpose. I had it that way on the website when you look at it on a computer, but it just made it to where you have to scroll too long because the letters were too big. And I don't know why I never paid attention to that. I've had my website for like almost 3 years, or no, like I don't know, for almost 2 years, I think, because I don't think I had a website right away. I think it was that next year is when I actually got the website. So either way, it has been like that this whole time. And so it started with that. It started with me just fixing the font. But if you know me and whatever, the reason why you'll see changes, it's never that I like really am like, okay, I'm going to rebrand. Like when I rebranded at the beginning of the year, I never planned to do that. It's I change one thing and then it just goes on this whole thing where I then just start changing all these different things. So then I updated my website. And then what I did is I updated the way that people can schedule their initial consultation, just to kind of make it a little bit less on me since it's still just me. So what it used to be is that people would fill out a form and then I would call them and then I would schedule the appointment and I would put it in my Calendly and then it would send them the information or whatever, because that's how I book all my stuff. So my work stuff, recording stuff, all that, right? Unless you're somebody that I know really well, then I'll just have a conversation with you and say, "Hey, are you available these dates or whatever?" But otherwise, I'll a lot of times just give people my Calendly. And so the crazy thing is, I just switched it to where when they click on the graphic, it'll just take them straight to my Calendly for that service, just to make it like a little bit easier. And then I'm gonna start offering workshops. So like going into organizations to lead a workshop. And so just trying to get everything in order, because before I start advertising stuff, I always think, thank God I'm this way since it's just me. I always think about, okay, so then what does that mean as far as on the administrative side of things? What do I need to do? So it just took all last week to update my website, update the graphics. I had to create a Calendly event for workshops because that wasn't something that I was offering as far as going into other people's organizations. And then what else? What else? What else? Then, updating service contracts. So then it affects that. Thinking about what I'm going to charge people when I come lead a workshop and just all these things, right? There's just so much that goes into making sure that it is a pretty seamless process once I get started. You know what I'm saying? Thankfully, I've built a pretty solid foundation to where I kind of have my ways of how I do whatever. So it's just like, okay, add another Calendly event. And then there's the workflows that are already set up. So it's just kind of nice. But that was a lot of last week was spent unexpectedly rebranding a few things. But it happens. I've decided, I know me, and I'm not going to say I won't. Like, I was actually really trying to change my website even more than it was that I did change it. Like, if you go to it and you've ever been on it, you will be able to tell that I updated it. And I wanted to change it even more, but the theme that I wanted to change it to, I would have had to upgrade to get it. And so yeah, y'all, if y'all know me and y'all know when I talk about I don't like to spend money that I don't have to spend, and I couldn't find a theme that I liked based on what I already am paying for, which is already enough money, you know what I'm saying? So I decided to just update it in the way that I did, and I'm happy with it, you know what I'm saying? And it's just crazy when I think about like where my website started versus where it is, and then even me in my about me kind of better writing. And it's not like it was written terribly before, because we know I write, you know what I'm saying? But I just feel like, I don't know, it's updated. That's what I did last week. And so it was just a really interesting week because it was just a lot of rest. I took an unexpected 4-hour nap on Thursday. And if you know me, you know I don't nap. Like, it's super rare that I ever take a nap. But during the work week, like, absolutely not. But it just worked out that one of my appointments that I normally have on Thursdays, she had to cancel. And then I had a Thursday meeting that I actually slept through. So that was during my 4-hour nap. Now, it wasn't like a client meeting, but still it didn't matter because they had forgot about the meeting anyway. So when I texted them the next day, once I realized I had slept through that meeting, they weren't tripping anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because they had got super busy. So yeah, last week was a really interesting week. Just rest, home a lot. I think it was really good for me because it like it was just a very, really, really busy summer. And it's just so wild to me that summer is like really over in some sense. Like some kids are already back in school in some of the districts here when I live, which is just wild because I don't have any kids that are in K through 12 anymore. So it's kind of like, to me that doesn't affect me, but it's just weird to think about the fact that it is August, the summer is over. Those two vacations that I went on in March and was it May? No, March and April. So those had me thinking my summer was going to be way different than what it was, and that's just not what it was. Shout out for those trips that I got to go on though, but it's like it was a really interesting summer. And then now school starting back doesn't well, actually it does affect me. It affects me in the sense that the kids that I've been meeting with, they are going to go back to school, so I've been meeting with people during the day and I won't be able to do that anymore. So it's just a lot of adjustments, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of me thinking about services that I want to offer, thinking about events that I want to do and stuff like that. And me right now in the planning stages to kind of like make that happen, think about it, what it looks like to find sponsors because I think, I don't remember if I talked about this on here, but I want to do kind of like either 2 or 3 times a year have a workshop that kids who are interested in like video content creation or podcasting or even the editing side of things. I was able to connect with this video production company here in town and having them do the actual leading of the workshop. So I'm not teaching all of these things. I've learned a lot, but like I'm not a professional. This is not what I do, but I connected with a video production company that this is what they do. And at least in our initial conversation, they said they would be open to if I bring the people, they lead the workshop. And so when I started thinking about who I wanted to offer this to, what I really want to do is high schoolers, so juniors and seniors, so like 16 and 19-year olds to also include that age where it's like you graduated from high school, you're still trying to figure out what you want to do. So I want to have it where they can come to this free workshop. So then that means I need to get sponsors to pay for the whatever it's going to cost because we haven't talked about all that for the people to lead the workshop. So sponsors to pay for that so that it can be free for the kids because I just see the beauty in when you get exposed to the things you're interested in. And then when you have people that are willing to show you or share their journey with you or whatever, it's really encouraging. It really like kind of helps you see that it's possible. And if y'all know me, y'all know I have a heart for the next generation, like way more so than, not that I don't care about adults, of course, but we all have a heart for what we have a heart for. And so I have been trying to think about ways to like make sure I'm still, pouring into the population of people that I've always poured into. And so it's been cool working with youth again, but then this would be something different because it's like my company can do whatever I want it to do. And I've always wanted it to be something where my company is in some ways kind of like giving back or whatever. So that's something I'm working on. And then it's really interesting because recently found this art center here in town. I can't remember. I don't be remembering what I talked about on previous episodes. And it's wild because I actually fully listen to them now while editing. So, whatever. This is my life. Y'all know I can only give y'all what I got. So, I've been going to this place in town. I've gone a couple times. I'm so sad that I just found out about it. It's called Hop Shots Art Center. If you're here where I live, you should definitely check it out. It's like 3 stories, 50 art studios, and it's free for the public or whatever. and you walk through, and if the artist is in, so like if the door is open, you can walk in, see what they're working on, talk to them, whatever. And for me, it's been so dope just being around creatives, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many different type of artists there. There's photographers, there's people who do um I don't even know what it's called. She was making shawls and stuff like that, but she had some like weaving thing or whatever. There's people who paint different types of painting though. There's people who do glass work or whatever, so they create different glass figurines or whatever. There was just so many different types of people in there, and I would talk to all of them. I'd ask them kind of about their journey, because a lot of them that I talk to, if I'm not mistaken, like this is their full-time job, you know what I'm saying? And looking at how much art costs, like art is expensive. It's interesting because I asked this one lady, I'm like, how, like, at what point in your life did you decide kind of like, well, this is what this costs, and if you don't want it, you just can't have it or whatever? Because I mean, some of them pieces were like over $1,000 and all this stuff, and I'm not saying it wasn't worth it at all, because it was beautiful, and just I'm a fan of abstract art, so and then there was just so many, and even the photography, like art is just expensive. I won't say it's expensive. I will say that I couldn't afford the things that I really wanted, so that's why it's expensive. But if I had the money, I would pay for it, because to me, it was worth it, especially because I'm all about having stuff that people like. You can't just buy at Walmart. You know what I'm saying? No shade to Walmart, no shade to Target, but I just like the idea of having something that, like, this is the only one and only I have this. And I got this from this person here locally, or even if I was out of town and I met, like when you meet people and you could say, oh, I met this artist, or I met this photographer, or I met whatever. I've noticed for me, it just makes it even that much more special, whatever I get. And so I was asking this lady, like, how did you decide to set your prices, and what makes you like, okay, this is what it is? And she said experience, and the time that goes into it and all that. And I asked her that specifically because I actually raised my prices on some of my services, because I realized that they were not at the right value, you know what I'm saying? Like I was kind of like underselling myself, or I don't know if that's the word that I should be using there, but I wasn't really pricing them for what they're actually worth. And I watched a video recently where this lady that I follow on Instagram, because she gives a lot of tips on kind of like video content creation and all that, and I like to follow people like that for the free gems that they offer. And she was saying, like, raise your prices. She said that, sometimes we want to make our stuff cheaper to attract more people. But the reality is, if you price it for what it's worth and you get the people that are going to pay for it, then it's kind of like you have to do less work to get whatever money you're trying to get. And that's me super summarizing it. She said it way better than that. But yeah, I did raise my prices on stuff, and a lot of it is I've been doing this over a year now, and I've learned a lot in the last year about how long it actually takes to do something, and even like the service, like what I'm actually providing when I do stuff. So like for standard operating procedure writing, for example, if you don't have all the information that I need, that means I have to research it, and that's fine, but that takes time, and that is worth some money, you know what I'm saying? Then there's content creation. If, like, I have a monthly content creation client that I create the graphics and do whatever, and we've created templates, and then all I do is when we get the next batch of content, because when I say monthly, meaning they get so many pieces per month. So it's not somebody who's just trying to get something one time. It's somebody who's like, I want to put out this much content per day, per week, whatever, and I want you to create the pieces. So we agreed on the templates for this particular client, and then we agreed that I would just change the captions when I send out the new batch of content. So with that, I have to look up stuff in their industry because they want it to be educational. So I have to look up that information. Also, keeping track, just like I do with my own company, of kind of like what I've already put out there. Because while you can say the same, like kind of reiterate the same message, I tend to tweak it a little bit the way that I word it so it's not seeming like I can only offer this specific information, even though topics are broad and there's usually so much, or somebody might not have seen it, but I so far haven't re-released the exact same content. Not saying you shouldn't do that, because that is a way to repurpose your content, but so far I haven't done that. But with that, back to me doing the content creation for others, that takes time, you know what I'm saying? So as I've really been thinking about that, then also thinking about how I make the content, and I've just kind of started doing some research on Fiverr and seeing just how other people price stuff, because you always want to make sure that your prices are not too high for sure, but also not too low, because you want to if so and so has been doing this for a year and they're charging more than you, and I like, let's be real, when it comes to content creation, I've consistently done that almost 3 years, because I've had to create, and we're not talking about podcasting, I'm talking about the digital marketing that I've done to promote my podcast, my blog, and all that good stuff. So it's kind of like, when I factor in all of my experience, which is very comparable to other people that I saw on Fiverr, when I also factor in the time that it takes to research things, even research hashtags for that industry, if you get into that, and just all that I do, I realized I needed to. And my aunt had said that. She's one of my content creation clients, and she had said, you need to be charging more, because she's been doing whatever and just kind of new or whatever. But I didn't at first, but then it's kind of like there's just something about crossing that year mark that just, I don't know, or it could just be there's just been a shift, or I don't even know, but I've just really been kind of updating stuff or whatever. And so yeah, being around all those creatives here in town is super dope. And then having people ask me for my business cards, because they're saying like, oh well, I know, the owner is looking for somebody to come in and lead workshops, and just having someone even that I just met, and really I'm here because I'm bringing a kid that I'm working with here to get them exposed to their interests. And then I'm asking you about your life just because that's how I am. Like, people who do different types of careers, I always wonder kind of like, well, how, just the journey behind, how did you get there? You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it's been really encouraging being around other creatives, because most of the creatives that I've been around have been predominantly podcasters on like a consistent basis, and none of y'all live here. You know what I'm saying? And so it's been cool to actually, with the video production company, like, they're podcasters, and I could actually go rent their studio if I wanted to do whatever. And so who knows, maybe if I have guests that I record with here in town, maybe I could go there and record, just to have a different type of setting and a different type of environment and all that for guests that live here, versus always having everything be digital, because it's or I should say, versus having everything be virtual, because I have never been a fan of a virtual world completely. And I'm realizing that about myself. Like, yes, there is value in it. So I would never completely go away from a virtual world, but I am not someone who can solely function just off virtual interactions, which is why, if you've noticed, that's why I switched churches. It's not because I didn't want to go to my church anymore. I'm still connected, still watch it online, still talk to the people that I've built relationships with and all that stuff. And I still miss everybody. I still wish I could go there. However, I don't have a vehicle. And so it has been nice these past 2 Sundays, like going somewhere. And then I'm seeing that there are people that I know that go there. So that makes it to where it's not just me and a bunch of strangers, because it's just me. Like, it's not my kids going with me. It's just me. You know what I'm saying? So that has been my last week. Rest, change, and just different doors being open to network with people, which then is sparking ideas. That's part of why I was like, okay, let me update this, that, and the other on my website, just because as I'm connecting with new people and giving out business cards, and people are gonna like come check out my website. Once I got started, then it's like, okay, we just gonna basically not change everything, but it definitely looks different if you've ever been on it before versus what it is now. And I like the updates, and like I always tell people, I would never say that where I was any less than, because in every season and in every phase of this journey, from being a content creator, like let's look back to the logos that Tamara Till the Break of Dawn has had, versus, and I might even make that the cover art since I mentioned it, but just the journey that I've had from there to now. Like, people who come in now and they see whatever, but this is why I'm so transparent about my struggles, about whatever, just because people sometimes have this perception of you because you're consistent, if you know, even if just that. Because those of y'all that listen know that financially, I'm just getting to the place with my company. And I've still, if I'm honest, I still haven't fully recovered my salary from my previous job. And so that's why I'm kind of like, okay, what else can I add to my services? Because I'm realizing, because I offer so many different things, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. So I can't solely focus on standard operating procedure writing. I can't solely focus on content creations. Can't solely focus on um workshops, can't solely focus on resumes. And then with the subcontracting work that I do, I can take as many kids as I want, but I don't want it to be to the point where I am not still investing in my own company. You know what I'm saying? So I have my cap where it's still a decent amount of money I'm making for the work that I'm doing. I have my cap, but I haven't quite got to the point where I've recovered my salary yet, but I'm trying to exceed that. Like, that's my smart goal. I have a specific number that I'm like, okay, Lord, this is the number that I'm want to work to at least get that. Sure, we can exceed it, but if we at least get to this, that would be dope. So I'm really at this point now where, now that I feel like the first year was literally just me establishing the foundation of my company and being consistent and tweaking this and tweaking that and seeing what I really want to do and all this stuff, or even things to add that I hadn't really considered. So I've done that, and now it's like I feel more I feel more settled, that okay, cuz then there was also adjusting to suddenly not being at my job anymore, and just these sudden changes, right? So adjusting to all that, and then here we are now, like, okay, this is what we do. This is the life that we want, because I don't want to go back to the 9 to 5. So now where I'm at is trying to scale my company and increase the revenue. And I feel like I have a solid foundation. That's kind of why I tweak the way people schedule their consultations, because that's one less thing that I have to do. Like, why have a conversation just to schedule the consultation where then we're going to talk anyway, when I can just have you schedule the consultation yourself? You see my availability, you schedule it based on what you can do, and it's a video consultation or whatever, so we can see each other, we can build rapport, all that good stuff then. So I'm just trying to be efficient but make sure it's still effective way to do things and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's where I'm at, y'all. And as always, because I'm about to get up out of here, I told y'all I'm trying to have these shorter episodes. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Make sure you are being healthy in your relationships. Shout out to all the parents with kids going back to school and all that good stuff. Make sure y'all stay safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world full